Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Handle with Care, Breast Cancer and Beyond. A safe place where both women and men can come and listen to real people talk about their breast cancer experience and the effects that follow well into survivorship. Hosted by Carrie Madrid, a stage 3 breast cancer survivor and founder of the CARE Project. It's time to Handle with Care.
Hey everyone, welcome to Handle with Care. I'm your host, Carrie Madrid, and today we're talking male breast cancer. Did you even know that men get breast cancer? When I was diagnosed in 2012, I didn't know that, but I quickly Googled it because I do have 3 brothers and a son, and it was very important to me to learn everything I could. So I am part of the Male Breast Cancer Coalition, which is based out of Kansas City. You can learn more at malebreastcancercoalition.org. And I wanted to talk with Jim Keegan in particular. He's a retired gentleman on the East Coast. I wanted to know just what his experience was like. So that's what this conversation is about. So kick back, enjoy, leave us a review, let us know what you think, and make sure that you're subscribed so that you can hear the rest of our episodes. Take care. Hey everyone, this is Carrie Madrid, host of Handle with Care. I am here today with my guest, Jim Keegan, who is a male breast cancer survivor. Thank you, Jim, for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome.
So Jim is coming to us via Zoom from Florida today, where he is with his wife. And I met Jim a couple years ago. I don't even remember how many years ago it was. Maybe 2 or 3?
I think it was 3, yeah.
3 years ago. So when I formed the CARE Project, our mission statement always was about supporting male and female breast cancer patients. It was real important to us that we include males, just because we, and by we, I mean myself and my co-founder, Christina, had never heard that men get breast cancer because it's just not what you see in the media. You see 8,000 women in pink with pink balloons at these wonderful walks, and the solidarity and the inspiration and the hope and the strength, but you don't see men. And since I have 3 brothers and no sisters, and a lot of my best friends are males, it was one of the first things I Googled was, can men get breast cancer? You know, question mark, and sure enough, they can. So the last time I checked statistics, it's 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed in their lifetime, and 1 in 833 men, right, Jim?
I think that's the current number, yes.
I think that's the current number, 1 in 833 men.
Just 1 year ago, it was 1 in 1,000.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I thought it was.
Going the wrong way. It's,
right. So do you think that's because there's more reporting on it, more people being obviously awareness is helping people to understand?
Certainly, I think awareness is helping people to understand. It does. A lot of the agencies are starting to include men.
Right.
American Cancer Society talks about men. Komen talks about men. You guys talk about men.
Right.
So it's out there. Male breast cancer has a presence out there. So
right.
I don't know why, but there are just, New York City got particularly hard hit. They found a number of men who were living or working around the World Trade Center.
Right, when it was hit.
That happened, and breast cancer is, I think they found 200 men in that area.
I think you're right. And you know, that's the thing is, people think when they hear breast cancer in general, Oh, well, the first thing people would ask me is, oh, well, did your mom have it? Did any of your aunts have it? Did your grandmother have it? And I'm like, yeah, no. Well, I did have one aunt who was diagnosed stage 0. Like they caught it right away on mammogram. She had a biopsy. They got it all. I think for good measure, she had 1 or 2 chemo treatments and I want to say a couple of weeks of radiation and she's golden. But I had genetic testing and mine came up sporadic because they either come up hereditary or sporadic on the test that I took. But I grew up in an area for about, from the age of 7 or 8 till I was about 14, I lived in Rialto, California. And if you Google it, there was water contamination at the time. There was a firework plant and there was a tire plant. And they used certain chemicals, and I cannot pronounce it. It starts with a P, P-E-R, percolate, something like that. And they would take the runoff from making their chemical runoff, dig holes in the dirt, put it in the soil, and it got in the water system. Now, when I grew up, we drank out of the hose when we were playing out front. You ran to the neighbor's house if all the kids were outside. We played in the hose. We drank out of the hose. We drank tap water. We didn't have sparklets, So I'm pretty sure that that's where mine came from because there is a huge amount of people in my age range. And actually, there's families that have been wiped out from various cancers that grew up in this plume area. It's very bizarre. But I do believe that a lot of this is environmental.
Oh, I think so. It's
absolutely.
I don't have a family history at all of breast cancer.
I remember asking my oncologist one time about the statistics, when I was starting the CARE project. I was like, how often is it that it's like a hereditary thing? And she said, that's not the norm. The norm is that it isn't, that it's more sporadic. So who knows? So when we formed the CARE project and we wanted to incorporate males, we just didn't know how to go about reaching out to them or finding them. So in doing some research online and through social media, I found the Male Breast Cancer Coalition, where I read Brett Miller's story about being diagnosed in his 20s and got a hold of his mom, Peggy, who helps run it, and Sherry, the co-founder, started chatting, and she said, why don't you come to our conference in New York City? And I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to go to New York City. And we raised enough money at the CARE project that I was able to bring a friend with me because I am blind in one eye. And I was petrified of thinking, how am I going to navigate New York City? And, God forbid I lose my contact, I'm screwed. And she'd been there. So Nicole came with me as my CNI person, and we met you and your wife, Pat. And I fell in love with you guys. You have such a calming spirit. You have you're just everyday good people, and your energy just exudes that. I just love you guys. So I was like, I can't wait to see them again.
Unfortunately, this year's conference.
I know. We'll be virtual this year.
Yeah.
We'll be virtual. So how did you get involved with the Male Breast Cancer Coalition? How did you find them?
Similar way. Probably my wife found it online more than I did. And we said, oh, okay. And it's like people, so to speak.
You find your tribe, right?
Right. And, you can not really. I think I was very fortunate. We found it very early.
Right. And what year were you diagnosed?
2013.
So a year after me. Okay.
Right.
And how did you discover it? Tell me a little about that.
We were just lying in bed and Pat rubbed my breast.
Yeah.
Said, there's something here just under the skin and it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, and it typically said, you should go to the doctor. And I actually did go. And
so you weren't that typical man that was like, oh, it's nothing.
I was generally.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the first times I actually.
The truth comes out now.
Yeah, now I actually listened, and our family physician was, unfortunately, he just retired, and but he was like a real nerdy guy.
Yeah.
He was rubbing. Yeah. Doesn't feel good. I want you to go in and have a mammogram. And I said, okay. And he started explaining to me, what I said, I understand the mammogram. And he said, don't feel bad. I said, if you tell me I got to do it, I'll go and do it. So within a day, I believe, 2 days later, I went for a mammogram. I went, when I called for it, they said, would you mind coming in the first patient in the morning? I said, no, I would prefer it.
Yeah, get it over with.
It's
no lines, right?
No lines. I worked in hospitals my entire career, so I know how hospital and scheduling time works.
Yeah.
So I went in and did that, and they did the mammogram, which turned out to be a challenge. As you know, I'm tall.
Just a little. You're just a little bit tall.
And the machines weren't usually set for that.
Yeah.
So they had to fool around and do that. And they said, okay, the radiologist will be in a couple minutes. why don't you just wait there and they'll do a reading and we'll see if there's anything else we want to do.
Oh, they did it immediately?
Within an hour.
Oh, nice.
And I don't think it was because of any urgency. I think it's just the way they worked. And
Perfect.
they said, the radiologist came out and said, I don't really like what I see, but I don't know what it is. I'd like to do a biopsy. I said, okay. He said, oh, well, we can do it right now.
Oh.
Then I got a little concerned.
Yeah. You're like, crap. Like right now?
Go in the room again?
Yeah.
So they did that, and I think that was a Wednesday, and on Friday afternoon they called me and said it was cancerous, and so I said okay. So I went back to see our family physician, and he had some thoughts. And said, okay, we're going to just deal with this quickly. So
yeah.
That was in late April, and in late May I had a mastectomy. So we went to a local surgeon. We had a friend, Pat had a friend who had breast cancer, and she swore by her physician. So we went there and we talked to the surgeon, and then we went in. We were very fortunate, as you know, we were 20 miles from New York City.
Right.
So we went into Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, talked to them. They said the same thing our surgeon in New Jersey said. So we chose to go with him, did the surgery, and then I did go to Sloan Kettering for chemo for a year after that.
What type of breast cancer did you have? Is it invasive ductal, or do you remember?
I don't remember. It was something roughly about the size of a pea.
So tell me, how did you feel when you heard the term mastectomy? Like, did it affect you? Do you think, or you don't know how I felt, I don't know, but I'm saying, like, did it hit you like, wow, does that really happen? Like,
I knew it didn't happen very often, but I also, maybe because although I wasn't a healthcare person, for 43 years I worked in hospitals.
Right.
I was in virtually every department, and I was an IT guy, and I set up systems and managed systems. So I understood almost.
You've been exposed to a lot medically, yeah.
There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a different X-ray. Just a different name. I just read somewhere that someone's trying to convince the radiology world to change the name of the procedure when it's a man. So really, instead of saying it's a mastectomy, it's a breast examination.
Oh hell! It's removal of breast tissue. Period.
Right. So,
I mean, if we're going to change the term, let's change the whole term, not just for men.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing that strikes me. Sometimes men look at me and say, "But we don't have breasts."
So when I'm out, like when we first started the care project, anything I got invited to like have a table at for information, I would go just to get our name out and to try to just drive home the point that, look, you're not too young, you're not too old, you're not too white, you're not too black, like doesn't discriminate, right? And we always would have whatever we could find pamphlet-wise about male breast cancer. And people would stop and say, well, my sister had it and I'm kind of worried about my wife. And I'd say, well, are you worried about you? And they go, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, men get breast cancer too. So here, you should take this. And when you get a chance, read through it. Just be aware. And I've had people argue me down. I've had people turn bright red and go, we don't have breast. Do you mean chest cancer? I'm like, no, breast cancer. So you see a lot of that. How did it feel coming out of your mastectomy? Like, do you feel like it took a toll on you in any way, shape, or form?
No, I don't. It's
good. Good.
The surgery went well. It's it's overnight in the hospital, and
all your margins were clear, and
it was. They took out, I think, 3 lymph nodes, and there was no traveling anywhere, so good. Everything was there, and it was good. The worst thing, I don't know that I've told too many people this, when we got home, it was just there one night, and the hospitals are crowded then as they're crowded now. Yeah. By the time I got out of the recovery room into a patient room, it was after 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And they said, don't get too comfortable because another patient coming in here probably 1 o'clock.
Oh, geez.
I really didn't sleep. Got home, was tired.
Yeah.
Doug said, I'm going to go upstairs and lay down. And I rolled over onto the bag that they had for the drainage.
The drainage, yeah.
And it started like bleeding at the connection point. It wasn't good. So it was Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, crap.
Friday of Memorial Day weekend in the afternoon. So we get in the car and head back to the hospital and go to the emergency.
They have to replace your tube?
No, well, so they're really not paying attention to me too much.
Yeah.
And the surgeon that we used was a private practitioner. It was him, a nurse, and his wife. And we had his cell phone number.
Oh, okay.
Pat got on the phone and called him and said, okay, sit tight. And a couple of minutes, he called back and said, the chief resident will be down shortly to deal with this. So they came down and they said, well, we don't really want to bring you back to the operating room, which I understood.
Yeah.
We're going to try and do some stuff here. And then Sunday, there's going to be a visiting nurse come to your house. I'll get on the phone with her and review it. And if I have to, I'll come to your house also.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
VIP treatment there, buddy.
Well, that's how this guy did business.
That's awesome.
That was very good. As it turned out, he got it okay. And so everything worked out fine.
I always tell people, I didn't have a lot of pain per se from the mastectomy site. It was more the drains being uncomfortable.
Yes.
But for me, they took out all of my lymph nodes. So I had 28 lymph nodes removed. And so that was more painful than anything else.
Is that still painful every day?
So I can't raise my arm all the way straight up. Like it goes to about there and then I'm like, it feels, it's kind of tie-dye. So I do a lot of stretching. It's numb. I'm still numb. My whole arm from my elbow to basically my whole upper left quadrant is numb. So I bump into stuff. I get bit by a mosquito or something. I don't feel it. So I have to be really careful.
Oh.
Yeah. So the reason I asked you that question, if you felt any different or funny about the after effects, is I remember when I first started, I found a very young survivor online. He was like 29 and he was a young dad. He had 2 little kids and a wife and he was from New York. And I said, let's talk, so we got on the phone and we talked and I said, I don't know. I'm ignorant to male breast cancer. I don't know if I want to learn from you about your experience and I'm going to talk to others. And during the course of the conversation, I said, well, at least your breasts, so to speak, are not how do you say it? Like when people look at women, we're considered feminine if we have curves, right? So if we no longer don't have a breast, you're taking away by society standards, my femininity, part of it. So with men, I said, well, at least your masculinity isn't tied into your breasts, and he stopped me cold and he said, well, let me give you something to think about. I was like, okay. He said, I go to the beach all the time. And I'm 20 something and I want to take my shirt off. And I said, okay, touche. I get it. Just never thought about it, And then I learned, like I had never heard about male reconstruction. And then I heard there's pectoral implants. Did they ever discuss that with you?
They did, but just quickly. And I said, at that point, I had just turned 65.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like I was, in your example, a 20-something going to the beach and worried about
Right.
I didn't know what it was going to look like. And as it turned out, when I finished chemo, we took a trip to Bermuda. And it was like, I'm buying all these shirts that you can wear on the beach and get wet and everything.
Yeah.
And now it's fine. If we go and we take a shirt off, it's fine. It's just it's just a scarf.
Yeah. And I think that we have to get to that point with women as well. And that's a constant battle that I have with.
I think that's a more difficult battle.
It is. And, I just have sort of always been I don't really care what other people think kind of person. And I have to realize that everybody isn't that way. And that's my downfall in that department. Because I'm like, what do you mean you can't wear that bathing suit? Because a tiny bit of your scar sticks out. I mean, I look like Frankenboobs up here because of my reconstruction and subsequent complications. But I don't care. So I have to be more mindful when I'm speaking to other women specifically about that. But I think that for women, it's a lot because our breasts are so sexualized, right?
Right.
So that becomes a big issue. So now I kind of don't worry about it,
I was just talking to a man about a month and a half ago. He was oncologist at Sloan Kettering, put him in contact with me because we had the same sort of a situation of estrogen-driven cancer, no history in the family. Right. It was his left breast as well as mine and so forth.
Yeah, mine was estrogen-fed left also.
Oh,
We're
okay.
Twins,
yay!
Yay!
So we got in touch with, and we talked about a bunch of things, and then that's what he said to me, did you have reconstruction? I said, no. It's, I just viewed it as a scar. And he was younger, and he goes, oh, I don't know, I have kids, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, that's what you have to, it's up to you.
You have to do whatever whatever you're at peace with.
I knew he was from Long Island. I said, I know there's somebody out there who will do a tattoo for you for free.
Yeah.
If that's what you're interested in. And a couple other things we talked about. And then after surgery, he sent me a note and he said, I don't need that. There's I was worried about it, but I'm more concerned, did they get it? Is everything going to be okay?
It puts everything in perspective, right? Yeah.
He's one of the newer people who joined the male breast cancer.
Good.
It's a picture of him holding 2 lobsters. I guess he's a chef. But
Oh, nice. Listen, did you have any issues with, or talk to me about things that probably people don't think about that male patients will deal with, such as, I remember, I believe it was you that posted something maybe a year and a half ago, and it was like the insert from tamoxifen or one of the drugs that we take to block estrogen. And it says, when it talks about what the medication is for, and it's like for women who've been diagnosed with breast cancer. And talk a little bit about those things that you would love to see changed, that they don't need to have a gender attached to.
No, it was tamoxifen, and we sent a note to one of the men. I just happened to look last week. I got a refill, and I just pulled the paper off.
They change it?
They changed it in one paragraph, but it's still women in 2 other paragraphs.
Oh, baby steps.
A step at a time.
Yeah, paragraph at a time there. Oh, wow.
And I say, this doesn't need to say men or women at all.
It really doesn't. Well, so what about anything else? I've heard other men say, I had to go to this clinic and it's like the women's cancer clinic and everything is pink and they're wearing pink gowns. And I know that you don't have a problem with the color pink, but actually, as a female even, I don't like the color pink. I like hot pink. Right? But that little baby pink that they put attached to breast cancer, Dr. Martin and I were laughing about it one day, and she goes, and another thing, we're a little bit pudgy.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Pudgy and baby pink is not a good combination.
No good.
We laughed about it, but
I went for my year's worth of chemo to Sloan Kettering. Sloan Kettering in New York City has a dedicated breast cancer building. It's a 14-story building, all breast cancer.
Wow.
Yes. It's not all pink. It's little mauve.
Yeah.
Tannish colors. But again, you got to suck it up and say, if this is it, this is it.
Right.
I did also have an issue there going back for my annual mammography checkup that they almost put me in a closet one time because they didn't want me mingling with the women. They have this whole big, that's all that's there is people with breast cancer.
Right.
Now, in the year, I think I saw one other man getting, but that's okay. But so they go in and you sit in this waiting room and then they call you and you go in and you change into the little gown and then you go to another waiting room. Well, they didn't want me going in that waiting room because there were women in gowns.
Yeah.
And I'm a man in a gown.
And again, because we sexualize breasts in America, in the United States, that's a problem. Yeah, that needs to change.
I think that happened twice. The last time I went there, they had revised it a bit. And just last year, they opened another Sloan Kettering facility a short distance from our house in New Jersey. And
good.
They don't do anything like that. But
yeah.
I was very fortunate that the treatment center there was really nice. Again, it was all like people.
That's the thing, right? Like, so when you get a group of breast cancer patients and survivors together, there's just a common bond. It doesn't matter if you were diagnosed stage 1 or metastatic, you're a breast cancer patient. And there's something about it that automatically, it's like you look at each other, you give a quick hug, and you get it. It's unspoken. And I will say that when I went to the Male Breast Cancer Coalition's conference in New York City, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if the guys would feel like I was infringing upon their space and their event, and who is she and why is she here and is she jumping on the bandwagon? And I almost felt like I had to prove myself, but I thought, no, I'm going to go and I'm going to be me, because my mission statement from the inception of the CARE project back in 2013 has always been to provide emotional and financial support to male and female breast cancer patients. Our mission statement has never changed. What going to that conference did was reaffirm that me wanting to support men was necessary and it was valid, because you see those commercials on TV, you go to the cancer walks and you see these women arm in arm and supporting one another, and it's very emotional and it's very real. But the camaraderie that I saw and the bond between of the brotherhood of these survivors at that conference really overwhelmed me. And when I came back and I gave a report to my board about why I just spent some of our hard raised money to go to New York City, that I was very tearful in my board meeting. And I just said, you guys you're not going to get it. I saw grown men hugging each other with tears, and just the same way that women do, and to me, I always tell people, those guys are like the unicorns of breast cancer, in that there's so few of you that we see, right? And so it just makes you extra special to me. So I'm really, really so glad that I met you, and I'm so glad that we've had a chance to talk a few occasions, and I wish I lived closer to you.
And then I think we saw you in Florida last year too.
Yeah, we brought Dr. Martin to Florida. That was fun.
Right. Last fall, the Coleman of Florida, they do a thing they call the Ford Warriors in Pink Ford Warriors.
Right.
So they asked me if I wanted to do that for last year, and I did it. And then when they had their walk in the fall, they said, "Oh, we're going to do a special thing with all the Warriors." And then they called me and said, "Would you mind speaking at the opening ceremony?"
Fantastic. I think you need to take every opportunity.
On the stage with, again, 8,000 women out there.
Right.
I was pretty nervous, but I got through it. And back to the camaraderie thing, so many women and men came up to me afterwards that it was incredible.
It's overwhelming, right?
It is. Sometimes I feel bad that I think I've been very lucky. We got over it. I haven't sick. I don't have any after effects. The tamoxifen doesn't bother me.
Right. Yeah, we talk about that. Do you ever feel like, how does it make you feel when, someone you may have met or known has a recurrence and passes away? How does that affect you? We talk about that a lot here in our social club because we have a tight-knit group, and I personally go through a bit of survivor's guilt for a time, and I know it's kind of irrational. Like, we're all here for a time. We don't know when our time is up. We don't know if it'll even be relative to breast cancer, but it's still hard because sometimes I will meet a patient that maybe was diagnosed stage 1 and I was very advanced stage 3. And I'm like, why is she gone? And I'm here.
Right.
And it takes me to a deep, dark place for a minute. And then I have to sort of I have to allow myself to feel it, and then I have to pull out of it. But I hear other patients sort of minimize their diagnosis also. And I'm like, look, the thing that bonds us is that we all heard the same words. You have breast cancer.
Right.
Period.
And we had a friend who had colorectal cancer. Well, we live in New Jersey. I said, we're 20 miles from New York City. And he was they were really good friends. And I said, okay, where are you going for the second opinion? I understand you're very comfortable at that hospital, but we have the best across the river. Go and get a second opinion.
Yeah.
You worked in the city for a million years. You can't be afraid to go in there.
Right.
It just didn't want to do it. And that bothered me more than anything else, that just accepting, well, I'm going to go here and they're going to do something. And
a lot of patients are that way. And we always talk about that too. We hear those buzz phrases, be your own advocate, be your own advocate. I tell people all the time, be at peace before you make a decision, chew on it all, let it marinate. One day isn't going to kill you.
Right.
You need to really think about it. And I think that for me, I didn't know anyone before me who'd been diagnosed. Like I said, my aunt, but she was in the Bay Area and I'm down south and I wasn't there for her experience, but I didn't know anyone else at the age of 40, and I trusted, I'm a little different case because Dr. Martin's a personal friend and she's my primary care. And so she linked me up with the chief of surgery. She linked me up with the best oncologist that she knew would fit the way I receive information. And so I didn't feel the need for a second opinion. Mine was pretty blatant. Like, look, you have 2 tumors, 2 areas, 2 different types of cancer. The breast is coming off. It's a no-brainer. But in terms of treatment and all that, my surgeon had said to me when he delivered the results, okay, well, listen, we need to do a mastectomy. And I said, well, can you just take both? And he said, well, yeah, I could, but there's no need to. I said, yeah, but can you just take both? And he said, yeah, but you're only 40. You just turned 41. You're young. You're divorced. You'll probably get remarried. You'll have reconstruction. So I'll just do the one for now. And then the plastic surgeon, when you're done with all your treatment, he'll make it real pretty because that's what his line of business is. And I just went, oh, okay. I wish that he would have said to me, or you could stay flat, or you could, yes, you can have both of these now. Present all the options. Yeah. But with the best of his intentions, he just presented to me what he assumed I would want. And if I had to do it all over again, I would have had a double mastectomy and I would have stayed flat. Because guess what? I could have put a bra and prosthesis in when I wanted to wear that sexy little dress and then rip that sucker off when I got home. Because reconstruction complications almost killed me, unfortunately.
Right. And I think, 6 years ago you had?
2013 is when I had my reconstruction.
I think since then, like everything else, things have changed.
I totally agree. Our treatment
will agree with we'll just do both and move on.
Absolutely. And I think just I would love personally for surgeons to just keep in mind that don't assume you know what we want, or don't, present all our options. Like staying flat is an option.
Right.
Still a woman, hello, right? Whatever. So I think that's important. What would be your best advice for any male newly diagnosed?
I think the best thing I can say is you've got to act quickly. If something's there, whether it's a lump, a discharge, an inversion, got to see a doctor quickly.
Right. And by inversion, we're talking like an inverted nipple. If your nipple is sinking in, so to speak, versus sticking out normally, if anything's changed different, that's for sure.
Just go and have it looked at, because that seems to be the key. If you drag your feet or be a typical male, no. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah. And, so let me be real transparent about me. I actually found my tumors in November, and my son was away in the military, and I think he was in Korea at the time, and he was coming home. Was he in Korea? I forget. Anyways, he was gone. He was coming home for the holidays for the first time since he had left for the military years before. And so I went, I'll wait. I'm not that person. I'm usually the person that's on it, right? But in that moment, I was like, and I'm saying that in retrospect because I don't think I realized it then. But I was kind of like, yeah, I'll deal with that later. But I do remember telling my dad, because I told my dad almost everything, telling my dad, I think don't panic, but I think I found something. And he said, well, you need to go get that checked out. My dad was a cancer survivor. He had renal cancer. And I said, okay, Dad, I will. And then I kind of blew it off. So from November, I would say the very beginning of November till January, I didn't do anything.
Oh.
Then I turned 40 in January, and I went, oh, it's mammogram time. And, oh, yeah, remember when I found that thing? Look, I was a single mom. I was working 2 jobs. I was running to basketball back and forth with my kids playing, and I just didn't take care of myself. I was in great shape physically. I was exercising and all that. However, I wasn't taking the time to go to the dentist and do all the things. Moms just put it to the side because they're doing a bunch of other stuff, unfortunately. So, by the time I was diagnosed, I had one really large tumor and one really tiny one, but I was stage 3. And of those 28 lymph nodes removed, 6 of them were positive. And from the time I got my diagnosis, it was 10 days later that I had my mastectomy. And in 10 days, my large tumor that was super aggressive, tripled in size.
Oh boy.
So imagine if I had just paid attention to the signs before and really jumped on it then. I mean, I'm still here, thank God. But, I think it's really important, like you said, pay attention, right?
I think that's the key. You just gotta pay attention. It's
yeah.
And we've heard similar things. We used to do a lot of tables there's a minor league baseball team in Daytona, which isn't far from us, and every Tuesday night was breast cancer night.
Yeah.
We would go down with the table and stuff. And one night, this man said, "Oh yeah, I got that." And what are you doing? He goes, "Nothing. I have to die of something." It's no.
So I think it's really powerful that you are out there being the advocate that you are. I think it's so powerful because one, you're just like I said, your energy is you're so approachable. One, you are very matter of fact, but you're not harsh. You're a tall dude. You're a big, manly man, if you will. Your stature, you command attention and respect. And I think it's really important that you're sharing your story and that it's nothing to be embarrassed about, not women or men. Because surprisingly, some women in certain cultures, it's very taboo. And there's a lot of shame and embarrassment. And it's another medical condition. It's a disease. You got to take care of it.
Right. If you don't, it'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. And then it's all downhill from there,
Well,
Jack.
I appreciate just the encouragement because it is, although the way things are going this year, there's
I know.
To go.
I know. It's daunting. It's daunting at times. There's times I want to quit. There's times I want to fold the care project. There's times I want to go, you know what? You finally don't work 2 jobs. Your kids are grown. You could be out doing this well, now I can't, but I could be out doing this or that. But every time I want to quit, I meet someone else that says, it's because you talked to me that I didn't lose hope. It's because I read your story that I found inspiration. It's because I read the story that you shared on Mr. Jim that my dad got checked. And no lie, I have the chills saying that right now. So I think it's important what we're doing. And you know what? You're retired. You could be off living your best life, golfing every day. Why do you choose to advocate the way you do?
Just because for most of what we've been talking about, there's a stigma there. A lot of men don't think about it, or they do postpone it. And so it's, again, through the Male Breast Cancer Coalition, you get some energy from that.
Yeah.
In Jacksonville here, which is 70 miles or so from where we are, there's something called the Donna Foundation.
I was going to ask you about that. I hear you mention that. Tell me about that.
That's named after a woman named Donna Deegan, who was a news reporter in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And she got breast cancer, and they decided to do catalog it or follow her on TV with this. And all of a sudden, she had so many people contacting her that they had breast cancer, or they didn't have the financial resources she had. They, lost their job. They couldn't make their bills. And she started a group, and they were selling those little rubber band
bracelets or whatever.
Bracelets and stuff. And everything just sort of took off.
Yeah.
And bigger and bigger. And they were doing different fundraising things. And then they came up with this marathon. She personally became a runner. She found running helped her.
Awesome.
So they came up with this marathon, and it's become like a whole marathon weekend they have 10K, 5K, all these other events.
Wow.
It's the largest marathon in the country dedicated solely to breast cancer.
Wow. Wow.
So it became a very big thing there. She's now running for U.S. Congress.
Awesome.
As a representative.
So she's thriving. She didn't just survive, she's thriving.
She's had 2 remissions of cancer.
2 recurrences?
Recurrences.
Oh, wow.
She's struggling through it. I think she's been healthy for the past several years now.
Oh, good.
The Mayo Clinic has a big center in Jacksonville that's where most of their money, I won't say most, a lot of their money goes to help them, but also to helping families who can't pay the bills, and do these sorts.
That's fantastic. Because when I started the CARE project, we did research just here in Southern California, and there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of breast cancer organizations throughout, whether it's the Simple Support Group or resource centers, but there wasn't anyone in my immediate area that was providing patients with the help for rent or mortgage or utilities, co-pays, childcare, groceries, just the everyday necessities that I say become luxuries when you're not working full time. And so that was our goal, and it's a very small scale thing. But when I want to quit, I think back to my patients that come back and say, you know what, that one time that you paid that little $150 light bill, you kept the lights on for my kids. And now I'm doing well and I want to help someone else. And every little dollar helps in all of these organizations.
And actually we got to know Donna, and she was the first organization that recognized men also.
Well done.
We used to do a lot of stuff around, and we would go to these things, and she'd put her head up and say, and I see that man in the back.
Yeah, because you stand above everybody all the time. There's no hiding you, buddy. No hiding you, especially in a hot pink shirt.
Right, exactly. But it's good to see the grassroots stuff, that it's not just big money going somewhere. They're helping families like you're doing. And
That's
and
fantastic.
particularly now, I don't envy your job in these times.
It's hard. We can't have so the way that we raise money is we have monthly donors anywhere from $10 a month to, we have one larger donor that almost pays our rent, which is the only reason that we have a place. But the main way we raise funds to help patients with those everyday necessities is our annual gala, and we can't have it this year.
Right.
And I'm like, crap, now what? I mean, we've got money in reserve, but we still got rent to pay. We've got another year on our lease here, and utilities and liability insurance and, stuff to run the business. And so we have very different creative ways. I had my friend Margaret Lesh, who's a 2-time survivor and author, approach me 6 months ago and say, I want to do a book deal with you. Let's collaborate on a book, and I will donate all of my time to edit the book, help you write the book. And my husband does graphic design. He'll do the layout, the cover, all that. We'll donate all our time, and you'll contribute, and we will interview survivors and get their perspectives on various things. And 100% of the proceeds will go to the CARE project. So I have the proof right here. I just ordered the final versions to come in. So when I get them in, I'll send you one. But it's very cool. It's on Amazon now. We're actually on the number 2 in the new releases as of this morning. I was like, oh, we just published yesterday morning.
Right. You'll be on the Tonight Show soon.
6 a.m. Ooh, where's those Honda helpful people now, right? But yeah, this book is just a great little handbook. It gives perspectives. Brett's in this book, so I insisted. I told Margaret I would only do it if we had a male, at least one. We only did 10 survivors, and then her and I. So we made one of them a Brett. So we've got in here men too. So actually, this is not the final version, but I think it's really important that we keep sharing stories, and I'm going to interview as many men as I can just to talk with them and hear their perspectives. I think different cultures, different age ranges, it all changes everybody's perspective, and that crosses genders, right? So I think it's important that we all keep sharing our stories and supporting one another, and I am proud to call you my breast cancer brother, and I feel like you could be my uncle too, But I love you guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
Oh, I appreciate what you do. It's good. It's good to have people doing this.
Yeah. So you guys, we got to go, but there'll be more episodes of Handle with Care featuring more male survivors, more issues, more topics, and we will have you back, Jim, if you'll come and join me.
Oh, sure.
I'll bring my wine next time.
Okay.
All right. You guys take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Handle with Care, Breast Cancer and Beyond. Please let us know what you think of the show by leaving a rating and review. And don't forget to share it with a friend. For more information or to connect with Carrie, go to thecareprojectinc.org.